You are tuned in to another edition of Americana Music Profiles, brought to you by Americana Rhythm Music Magazine and AmericanaMusicMagazine.com. I'm your host, Greg Tutwiler. Let's jump right in to the next exciting interview. Melbourne, Australia-based singer-songwriter Shayne Cook has a new record on the way, debut set for October 23rd. It's called Epiphanetics. Shayne, who spent most of his musical career playing in other bands, has decided to venture out with this new 9-song collection of original material. Shayne and I sit down and chat about his music and this new leg of his musical journey on this edition of Americana Music Profiles. Hi, Shayne. Welcome to the podcast this morning, actually, I believe.
Thanks for having me.
It's actually really early this morning or really late this evening for you, depending on how you view that, I suppose.
Let's call it early.
Yeah, okay.
Early and late.
Right, yeah. So the inside joke is I'm in Virginia in the United States, as our regular listeners know. You are in, I think I have this right, Melbourne, Australia?
Melbourne, right.
Yeah, so we're quite about as far away as we can be from each other at the moment and still have the opportunity to have this live conversation. So I appreciate you staying up to do this with us today.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me.
So you are in the process of releasing your debut CD, is that right?
Yeah, debut album comes out on the 23rd of October.
And you have been releasing singles along the way, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, I put out 2 double single releases. First was June 30, and then another lot in August. And so the full album comes out, in, what's that, about 3 weeks. Yeah,
okay. Title, am I going to say this correctly, Epiphanetics?
Yeah, Epiphanetics.
Okay. Where does that come from?
The play on words, I suppose, as an artist. I've taken the liberty to make up a word.
Okay.
It's, I suppose, a cross on epigenetics and phonetics.
Yeah, okay.
And I suppose, I don't know, it just came to me and it stuck. It was really I suppose the album for me was a bit of a look on how our take on the world comes from, our path. So the way that we interact with the world, and how I suppose it. There's a lot of things that if you look into them, there's a lot of reasons that you are what you're like. And the album starts with a song about my dad. I only found out a couple of years ago his real heritage. He found out his true heritage. Yeah, so it kind of opens with that and then goes on from that. So, I kind of came up with that name and it stuck.
So, being your debut record, how has music been a part of your life your whole life? How is it that this is this just the first opportunity that you've had to record a set of music like this?
Yeah, I suppose music has always been a part of my life. However, it took me, just took me a long time to get to this point.
Yeah, okay.
I've always played in other people's bands. I was predominantly a guitarist, was my main instrument, and I was a bit of a late bloomer with lyrics and singing.
Uh-huh.
Probably only late 20s I really got into singing. And then, since then, took it on as another instrument, the voice, and I suppose it's always been in me to do this, but I went down the path and got the got the real job, and
Uh-huh.
until it just burned me not to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And a couple of years ago, I left my job, and here I am.
When did you get the music bug? Is this something you grew up playing, or you said late bloomer? Late bloomer.
Well, with the vocals and singing,
Uh-huh.
I was, but I look, I did. Like my mother actually said that I wanted to be a songer, is what I called it when I was young,
Okay.
3 years old.
Uh-huh.
So she said I've always had interest in it, but really I only picked up the guitar when I was 15.
Okay.
But when I did pick it up, it was I never put it down. So so it's always been a part of me, and it just took me a while to take the plunge, I suppose.
Right. When you stepped away from the day job, was that into your own solo career, or were you still active with other musicians in somebody else's band?
Yeah, look, I've always played in other people's bands and been active in music. But when I stepped away from the day job was to follow the solo career.
Yeah.
I actually have a recording studio in Brisbane, Australia.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah, I'm pretty active. I do a little production for other people as well, and have played in other people's bands, etc. And, but the leap was when I wanted to, follow it as a career, as in a writer, as a songwriter.
Yeah, yeah. So we are speaking at the moment in a time where the world is still struggling to try to figure out where we're headed with the pandemic and how we're going to get back to some sort of normalcy with our music world. How has that affected you? Have you there in Australia and your personal career been able to restart some aspect of this with the new record, especially?
Yeah, well, I suppose it was not me as anyone else. The plan was to release some things and start doing some shows and tours around Australia. However, obviously that part of it hasn't happened for anyone.
Right, right.
But look, I suppose I've just taken it as some time to keep writing.
Uh-huh.
I think I probably even progressed into the first record in my songwriting ability, and I've probably got, I've pretty much got a bunch of demos there ready for the next album. So,
good, okay.
Whereas I don't have, haven't been able to play shows, I've still been active in writing, and as soon as I can, I will.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about your songwriting process. How every writer seems to kind of have a little bit different approach, and your inspiration. Is it kind of organic? Do you have set times where you sit down and work on new material? How does that work for you?
Yeah, look, I make it a daily thing. And to be honest, since I actually left my full-time job, it's become easier.
Cool.
I think that this first record, it was a bit of a struggle. Probably because I was so used to the 9-to-5 routine as well. I was running a business, so it took a little while to get to that. But now, I incorporate it in my daily routine, I suppose. I'm always playing, and it's like anything, like playing guitar. Eventually after a while, your intuition becomes a little bit better, and that's how I felt with writing as well is that you do it more. I don't know, you just manage to get into the zone a little bit easier when you do it regularly. So, yeah. So look, I don't have a rigorous routine or anything like that, but I do, at least play every day.
What kind of genre do you personally feel like your music fits in? When I was listening to it, it had a real lots of hints of kind of Americana folk, but also some modern influences there too. But you use a lot of different instrumentations in the recording process.
Yeah, that's right. Look, I suppose as a musical influence, my background is pretty varied. I did actually study jazz
Okay.
About 10 to 12 years ago. But I grew up probably in my teens. I was listening to the Seattle grunge movement from the States, actually. But through learning guitar, I then really got into the blues, the Stevie Ray Vaughns, through to all the great blues players, into jazz. That's expanded. There's quite a wide range of influence. I really like folk artists such as Leonard Cohen, and probably heard of Joanna's Nick Cave.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's quite a wide range, and I suppose really I think on this first record I was finding my feet a little bit, and yeah, that's probably why you're hearing quite a wide range of influence in it.
Yeah. Do you have a sense for what kind of audience migrates towards your music?
I've had a think about this, and I don't know. I think anyone who has the attention span to listen to a whole record.
Right. Yeah.
So because I think that the record that I've made is sort of made to be one that's listened to from start to finish.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of has a well, at least for me, it has that sort of flow. I think anyone who has the rock, blues, jazz influence in their list of likes might be able to find something of interest in that. I think particularly I did actually record 15 songs, and
okay.
I ended up probably keeping the more catchy ones off the record, just because I felt the ones that were on there sort of really fit together quite well. And for me, music is not something that I'm just gonna, I can see myself, doing this until I'm, one foot in the grave. So, so I'm not planning. I'm planning to keep writing and making records. I do have I suppose the advantage of having access to a studio.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I just want to work on my craft, songwriting craft, and improve is my my main aim. And hopefully people will get something from the music.
Right. Yeah. Which is every artist's hope, I'm sure.
Yeah.
When you do get to perform, is this a more of a solo type thing, or do you have a band that you work with also?
No, well, look, I'll probably, just depending on the, I will play with the band, and, I have access to session musos and friends, and so I want to play the songs with the band, but, also I'm quite comfortable just with a guitar to play the songs as well. Obviously, the production on the album has quite a wide range of instruments.
Right.
So it would be nice to do that, but I've got no problem taking on a gig as a solo artist either.
When you have a record like you created with all of the instrumentation, and then when you play those songs out acoustically with just you and your guitar, how difficult is it to fill in the space, or do you need to fill in the space with the different pieces that aren't there with you when you're live versus what you would hear on the studio project?
Yeah, look, I think I just take the approach of making the song suit a solo instrument. So I'll probably take a little bit of a different tack when I play them live solo.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll just be a slightly different variation, but the songs can carry as a solo instrumentation as well. So yeah, there shouldn't be any issue with that. I hope anyway.
Yeah. Have you had the chance to perform some of these in front of an audience?
Yeah, look, before we went into lockdown, I did one or two shows, small shows, and they were solo.
Yeah.
With a small amount of accompaniment. Actually, my uncle, who through my process with my dad finding out where his heritage is from, we tracked down his real brother, and
cool.
His real brother is a pretty well-known musician in Australia. He played with a band here called the Black Sorrows. And so it just happened that my newfound uncle played on the record.
Oh, wow.
As well.
That's cool.
So,
yeah, that's awesome.
So that was pretty special. Mm.
Do you have a particular kind of venue that you enjoy? A particular style of audience that you resonate with more than another?
Yeah, look, if I was to say what my ideal show would be, it would be the small theatre type show. Intimate setting.
Yeah.
Rather than the big festival type arrangement. If I could, have it my way, if I could do small theatre shows, that would be ideal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you mentioned you've been writing, and you had actually, I guess, what we'll call outtakes, songs that you didn't include. Do you have a projection as to when you would like to get number 2 out and out there in circulation, especially considering we have no clue how long it's going to take for the shows and the normalcy to return?
Yeah, look, just for my own, I really wanted to get into the studio before the end of the year.
Yeah, okay.
As it turns out, Melbourne in Australia is probably being hit the worst with the lockdown measures
really?
for
Okay.
COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've actually even had curfews here. So, it's pretty much, and for me, rather than recording separate parts, for this next album, I really want to just record it predominantly live in a room.
Okay.
So, but we can do a little bit of pre-production work and have it's not a drama if I don't get it done by the end of the year, but that was my kind of personal goal, I suppose.
In the world we live in today, you've got probably more time to do it than any other time.
Yeah, so. It's true. It's true. Yeah, and I suppose being a musician and being quite comfortable with my own time, I suppose I'm probably a bit lucky in that it hasn't affected me as badly as probably some other people. Who are frustrated, locked inside. I'm pretty happy. Strumming away on my guitar.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the new record, the debut record, is Epiphanetics, and where can people find it? How can they reach out, make a connection with you if they'd like to learn more?
Yeah, well, I am doing a limited release vinyl. I'm not actually going to put it on CD.
Okay.
So it's just going to be streaming and vinyl, which is accessible through my website. Probably in the next week or so, I will be putting out the pre-save and the pre-release options for buying the record. So through the website, shayncook.com, the usual social media channels, Instagram and Facebook, you'll be able to track me down. So look, vinyl's my vinyl player now. It's how I like to listen to music on a Friday night.
Yeah, so, for sure.
And I don't have a CD player anymore, so
okay.
I felt, there probably still is a market for CDs, but I've just decided to stick with the vinyl and streaming as well.
It's kind of funny how we've come full circle through all of the digital mediums. And then back into, and I heard recently that there's even a kind of new market for cassette tapes. The younger generation is discovering those like it's some new new thing. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a good thing for those to come back, but it's cool how vinyl has people have rediscovered vinyl and the actual sound quality that it can provide, and how much extra nuances are there on the analog recording that you lose sometimes in the digital reproduction. So we certainly wish you...
And and there's still something nice about flipping it over and listening to the whole record.
Right. Yeah, it's almost kind of like a printed magazine. You could hold a CD, but you can damage a CD in a way that if you take care of your record, it lasts forever. It's cool that medium has returned. So we certainly wish you well, Shayne, and I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, and excited about your music and looking forward to the next one.
Thanks very much, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of Americana Music Profiles. Find us on iTunes at Americana Music Profiles and on the internet at AmericanaRhythm.com.